Tories' Tamworth trouble and Mid-Bedfordshire misery give them bye-bye election blues. These are the interesting times. Hello, my name's Matt Johnston and welcome to The Interesting Times, the show that looks and laughs at UK politics. Thursday saw two by-elections take place and the Tories were defending huge majorities and feeling pretty confident. They certainly had a lot to say before the election.
So here we are. It's the last chance to learn. Andy Cooper, the next MP for Tamworth. He laughs, but I'm serious. I only have back winners.
After it, not so much.
Tonight, the people of Tamworth have voted for Labour's solution and a fresh start. They've sent a clear message to Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives.
That was Andrew Cooper. Apparently he came late to the announcement and was straight out the exit after staying no more than 5 minutes, at which point he was offered a job working for Liz Truss. And then in Mid-Bedfordshire, Festus Akinbosoye at least had the grace to briefly smile, say something about democracy before being bustled into a car like a crook facing several counts of embezzlement. Which, let's be honest, if he'd been elected, would have been pretty good practice. It was a delightfully disastrous night for the Tories, and I made a bold prediction that Rishi Sunak would be gone by the end of the year. A prediction that is looking slightly less bold when you consider who's saying it isn't going to happen.
Do you think there's actually an appetite to change over Prime Minister yet another time? Six different Prime Ministers in the last 5 years.
Yeah, 6 PMs in the last 5 years. That's Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, Boris Johnson, Theresa May, David Cameron, and of course that brief moment in 2016 when it was a Brexit unicorn in a Union Jacket waistcoat. These two defeats are of course good news for the country.
And it is a pointer that unless the Conservatives can fairly dramatically and fairly radically turn things around, then they are in truth staring defeat in the face in 12 months' time.
The Tories have dug themselves in so deep over the last 13 years that defeat will probably have to lie on its belly if it wants to stare them in the face.
If you look at the actual votes that were cast, actually in, I think it was Mid-Bedfordshire, actually fewer people voted for Labour in the by-election than they did at the last general election.
And this was the Conservatives' pre-prepared prattle. We didn't get many votes, but the Labour Party also didn't get many votes. It's just that our not many votes weren't as many as the not very many that the Labour Party got.
If you look at the details, it did not show a swing to Labour. It showed Conservative voters not coming forward.
Are you kidding? You won't find bigger swings at a Giants playground. But this didn't stop the deluded deluge from continuing.
That has been persistently poor in terms of his leader approval ratings, obviously way behind Keir Starmer now. Why is that? Why is he not making a difference?
I'd say Keir Starmer isn't exactly stellar.
Well, not exactly stellar. It's positively Castlemaine 4X compared to your guy. Honestly, Carlsberg doesn't make stupid, deranged political statements. But if they did, they still wouldn't match anything from Andrew Bowie. But MP for Stoke-on-Trent North and tying a rope champion for the last 3 years running, Jonathan Gullis knows what needs to be done.
It means having a long-term plan for how to bring legal migration numbers down, as well as taking drastic action to stop the boats.
Drastic action to stop the boats? Is he going to release Megalodon into the English Channel?
Some incredibly conservative things that shock horror people might be inclined to vote for if they were given that chance. Jonathan Gullis, Conservative MP, thank you very much.
People had the chance and they didn't vote Conservatives. Not only did they not vote Conservative, but they didn't vote Conservative in their droves. Have you been in a coma for the last 24 hours or is that just your viewers?
You're having a great night tonight. Enjoy it while you can. Fill your boots.
Ooh, I don't mind if I do.
General election.
I'm not filling any boots.
We're not?
They're out of love with the government. They've yet to be convinced, I think, about the nature of what the alternative government will be. That's the second part of the test that any opposition has to satisfy in order to win power.
No, No, it doesn't. You only get elected if more people vote for your party than the other parties. That's how our, admittedly somewhat limited democracy works. You don't get to count the votes of people that might have elected you. But the Conservatives took cold comfort in believing the public would be back and backing them the next year, and that people may hate Sunak, but they didn't love Starmer. So, if Sunak was to go, who would, and indeed could, and indeed should, replace him? It's the king of right-wing shit-stirring, not as popular as a canvassing dolphin, ex-MEP, ex-leader of UKIP, and excrement in human form, Nigel Farage, seen here delighted to have finally found a suitable position for Anne Widdecombe. Nigel has said that he would be surprised if he wasn't leading the Conservative Party by 2026. Have to say, I would be surprised if there was a Conservative Party by 2026. The question is, though, would he make a good PM? No, I don't think that's his role in life, and I don't think he would be that good at it either. But what does Nigel himself think?
Would you like to be Prime Minister?
I don't think that's my role in life. I don't think I'll be very good at it either.
Agreed. Nigel Farage is most famous for leading a fringe far right-wing party full of racist nutjobs and funded by Russian donations, making him positively overqualified for leading the Conservative Party. And that's it. No time to talk about the COVID inquiry rumbling on, and anti-masker and spectator lovey Dr. Carl Hennigan was brought on to give his expert analysis and showed he really knew his stuff.
Everything exists as evidence, even my opinion exists as evidence within the
not
frame.
Not in my world, it doesn't. Well, not in a court of law, it does.
Yes, opinion is evidence in the same way that inflation is a tax, I guess. But it's fair to say the scientific community at large were not particularly enamoured with Dr. H.
Professor Gupta were taking at the meeting as half-baked nonsense. We looked at a WhatsApp message sent by Dame Angela McLean during the meeting, where there was a reference to a fuckwit, and Professor Edmonds, I think, inferred that that was probably a reference to you.
Although that wasn't the worst nickname to have. After Rishi Sunak started his Eat Out to help the pandemic out in 2020, when he was the Chancellor, he was called Dr. Death the Chancellor, presumably to distinguish from the other cabinet Dr. Deaths. And we learnt this from a WhatsApp that the inquiry's got. How bad are the other WhatsApps that Sunak doesn't want the inquiry to see?
But the Eat Out to Help Out slogan, yes, that came at a really crucially problematic time.
To be honest, it made me angry, and I'm still angry about it. It was one thing taking your foot off the brake, which is what we've been doing by easing the restrictions, but to put the foot on the accelerator seemed to me perverse, and to spend public money to do that.
We'll have to get people prepared and do it in the right way. That was my assumption at the time. Afterwards, I look back on it and think, actually, really, was there a plan? I'm not sure.
I am. They didn't. No time to talk about my midweek video on the situation in Gaza, which has received a lot of positive comments, thank you. And people marched in London and across the world for the plight of those affected in Gaza and Palestine. Or did they?
Well, I think those people who were there on March on Saturday were not there for anti-Semitism, were not there for anti-Israel. They were there for pro-Palestine. And the majority of people had... Because that's what the marches were about.
Doesn't mean that that's why everybody was there, though, does it? How do we know that?
I think the flags were probably a bit of a clue. Here, let me show you something. So, this is the Union flag, the flag of the UK. Why? Well, I love this country, I do. It doesn't always behave itself, and we have had a bit of a rough relationship over the last few years. But if you cut me, do I not bleed red, white and blue? But anyway, also here is the flag of the EU. Fact checking, please. But I also love the EU, certainly the idea of it. People wave a Palestinian flag to show support. These are Manchester City fans, not anti-Manchester United fans. All right, that's not a good example. Okay, this is an LGBTQIA2S+ flag, not an anti-heterosexual flag. This is not an anti-sunshine flag, and this is not an anti-fruit and vegetables flag, and this It's not an anti-getting to the final of the Rugby World Cup flag. It is possible, and indeed some might say, the best way to show support by waving a flag. So please, don't waive our right to wave a flag. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you have enjoyed the video, then please do like and comment and share and subscribe and hit all the notification bell so you don't miss any more. And I'll see you all soon. Take care.